Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melissa Van Tile, and welcome to our October webinar series on financial planning. I'm happy that everyone could join us today. It looks like we have a large audience, so I'm very happy. I'd like to introduce the very lovely and very knowledgeable Shannon McCrae. She's here to spend some time with us this afternoon to answer your questions. She has a presentation on financial planning and things to know when you're in the ALS community. So we're going to do the questions at the end, but please feel free to put your questions in the question chat box and we will make sure that we get to them. So I'm going to hand it over to Shannon. You'll see on the screen, for some reason, her name is not popping up as Shannon McCrae. That just seems to be a technical glitch, but we will have her contact information for anyone that is interested in contacting her after this webinar. So Shannon, welcome, and I'm going to hand it over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. I've been working a little bit with the ALS community, probably going on 7 or 8 years, and actually with families that have members, family members that have different types of ailments and different types of disabilities. Started initially because my goddaughter has Down syndrome, and so I'm very active in the Down syndrome community, but it's translated into working with other groups and individuals with many different types of ailments and different levels of ability within life. So I'm going to share my screen with the presentation, and then we'll get going on some of that. I'm going to be covering a few different topics. Let me just share this here. Okay. So I'm assuming everyone can see the presentation now. I am a investment fund advisor and life and health insurance advisor with Desjardins Independent Network, and we are full brokerage, even though it is a specific name that we're used for branding. We do have access to most things across the board, different banks, different insurance companies, and I've been in this business for 11 years now. And as a broker, I try and really provide a wide view of not just investments in insurance, but estate planning, wills, how it all works together, even as far as looking at ODSP, retirement, all of that, and how the pieces fit together based on individual needs. So we're going to start right away with power of attorney, because I know that my understanding is that there's always questions about this. I have experience with this with family members. My dad needed my sister and I to have power of attorney, so I did go through all of these processes with family members myself. So a power of attorney is a legal document. You sign it. You give it to one or more people. They have the authority to manage money and property on your behalf, and there's also one separate type of power of attorney for health. So in Canada, when you appoint someone, they're called your attorney. It doesn't have to be a lawyer, although these documents have to be set up through a lawyer. Or if you're in certain provinces, you can use notaries, where notaries are accepted as proper legal advice and legal seals. In Canada, there are 3 main powers of attorney. We're going to go through them on the next slide, that deal with finances, like I said, property, and they're all have little differences based on the provinces you live in also. So obviously we're in Ontario, and when you meet with a lawyer, which I really strongly recommend for obviously, getting wills and power of attorney, usually you would do those things at the same time. And in general, one of the main things that you have to look at when giving a power of attorney to someone is that they have to have the mental capacity and capability to understand and appreciate what those financial and legal decisions will mean, as well as the consequences of those decisions. So there's two types of powers of attorney for property. One is a general or non-continuing power of attorney. So this is the document that would give someone the authority to make some financial decisions on your property, but it's for a limited amount of time usually. For example, if someone's going out of country, so if someone travels a lot or lives in a different country part of the year, they could have someone managing their financial affairs here to make sure that everything is being attended to properly. For example, if they're in a place where they don't have access to internet or banking or anything directly because of, you know, access with computers and whatnot, that's what someone would use for that short-term period. It also would end, this type of general power of attorney would end if someone becomes incapable of managing their own affairs. Then we would move on to an enduring or a continuing power of attorney. So that one is for long-term. All powers of attorney can be revoked and changed, by the way, just like a will can. It is obviously a legal document that lets your attorney continue acting for you if you become mentally incapable or incapacitated physically to be able to manage your finances and property. It also gives them authority over most or all of your, you know, property and finances. For example, paying bills, applying for benefits for you, collecting your pension, distributing money, monitoring investments, ensuring other assets are protected, selling assets. So those things can be changed. Things that can't be changed are powers of attorney can't change by a power of attorney. A will cannot be changed by a power of attorney. But they can do pretty much anything else that you would do. Sell your house, collect investments, look at insurance policies, things like that. A power of attorney for personal care, this allows someone to make healthcare decisions for you if you become incapacitated or incapable of verbalizing or communicating what you would like done. These healthcare decisions can be difficult and involving the quality of care, like where you're cared for, how you're cared for, how much is spent on your care, and possibly life support. So these can be very emotional decisions. You can also choose more than one person to do these, and they could either work, they can either be able to have to work together or independently of each other, depending on how you word it. But you have to make sure choosing someone who is prepared to handle that type of emotional toll that can come with these responsibilities. It is decisions about medical treatment or admission to long care facilities, a health professional must determine that person is incapable of making the decisions before the attorney can act. So you can't just do it because you want to. They also have to have determined that the person that's being dealt with no longer has the capacity to make those decisions for themselves. A living will. A living will is something that can be made part of when you're doing your power of attorney for personal care. It's part of it, and it's about things that you would wish to have happen or not happen when you're not able to express those wishes anymore. So that could be about your end of life care. For example, if you don't want life support, or what types of life support you would allow, for how long, you could choose a time frame, 30 days, 60 days, 6 months. Also, how your organ donation would like to go, if that's something that you would like to do. Benefit of including such a statement is that it takes away the choice of making a tough decision to someone else during a medical crisis. So they don't have to wonder if they're making the right decision. And often, even if they know what your wishes are, it sometimes would be harder for them to say take life support away in a time frame that doesn't feel right to them. And if you have already determined what that time frame is, then it takes the onus off of them to make that kind of decision and have a guilt or have some sort of emotional feeling around that. It can really be a big help to really be clear cut on what you want, so your family doesn't have to think about that during really difficult emotional times. There are a lot of different tax credits that you are able to receive. The first one I want to talk about is a disability tax credit. This is a non-refundable tax credit that can be applied on your income taxes, either directly to the person who qualifies or to someone in their family if they, for example, don't have an income anymore. The person who's taking care of them can apply for it, the tax benefit. The disability tax credit is paperwork. It's called a T2201. It has to be completed by a doctor, okay? And it reduces basically your income tax by a certain amount. I'm just going to go to the government link I have here, so it will talk a little bit about that. Sorry. It didn't go to the right link. I apologize. I'll just pull that one up. So the disability tax credit is non-refundable. Sorry, I'm just gonna close this down here. It has to be done by medical practitioners. There's different people. It's not just medical doctors. There is a list, but usually your family doctor or your specialist, especially with ALS, they would be quite familiar with these forms. And basically what this does is allow you to get claims and apply it to your income tax. I'll send at the end, I can send out all these links for everyone to read through themselves specifically. But basically, the people who are eligible, you have to fall within two categories of restriction. So walking, mental function, dressing, feeding, elimination, hearing, speaking, vision, life-sustaining therapy. Obviously, many of these come to play at different stages for people with ALS. So it's generally something your doctor can easily get through and be able to get the application done. If you are more recently diagnosed, you might not have even done this yet. If you have not, it's something really, that's one of the first steps that needs to be done to get this going, is just, you know, the next time you're with your doctor, getting that completed. You can print it out online if, you know what, let me just pull it up so you can see what it looks like. Because your doctor may not have copies in their office, so it might be something, there is an online application also now, I think. So, but I'm going to pull up the form so you guys can just take a quick look at it. So it asks those questions, just normal, of course, about your name and or the person that will be collecting the disability amount. If what your accountant will do or your tax professional will do is apply it to the person with that it would benefit the most on your income taxes. If you're not sure ahead of time what you should do, please reach out to me. I can help you with that. Or if you have a tax person that you're working with, they can also help you determine based on your income levels if you know what they're going to be. But it just has questions. I'm going to go down here about, you know, your eyesight. There's certain things that are automatically approved, usually deafness, blindness, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, for example, spina bifida. These are things that are automatically approved. ALS is also something that's pretty easily approved for. So just go through that with your doctor, have them fill it in, and you can submit it. That's one of the steps to, and I think the benefits are somewhere around 8,000 or 9,000 per year. So say you make $50,000 a year, you would be taxed on 42,000. It's in that range, something like that. By the way, you can also go back up to 10 years. So say your diagnosis is 5 years old and you haven't done this, you can go back and amend your income tax returns for the last 5 years if your doctor puts that you've been diagnosed for 5 years. These are things that we want to make sure happen so that you have a benefit going backwards. I've had someone that went back and they got amendments and changes. I think it was in the equivalent of around $18,000. So it just depends on how long you haven't submitted those tax forms for. Okay. Now I know a lot of people want to talk about the Canada Caregiver credit. And this is based on if you're supporting a spouse or a common law partner or a dependent with a physical or mental impairment. It's a non-refundable tax credit that may be available to you. I'm going to pull that one up. So who can claim for this? So a spouse or common law partner, your child or grandchild, or your spouse or common law partner's child or grandchild, your parent, grandparent, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, nephew, and can be also, these can also be used for, because it's not always spouses that are in the case of looking after someone. Unfortunately, spouses themselves don't used to not be able to really claim this so much, but now everything is a little bit different. So it's definitely all of these credits, by the way, really, I really believe strongly that individuals should be getting help from a tax professional. There's too many of these little things that you can claim that you just might miss. But I think it's really important to pay the money to have a professional who won't miss anything and get all of the little tax benefits that you can get. So for spouse or common law partner, you can claim about $2,300 up to $73.48. So don't worry about the lines. This is all, I always pull up the government web pages just because this is just clear cut as to numbers and as to the information where I'm getting it from. It's also for eligible dependents that are 18 years of age or older. So I include all this obviously because sometimes my talks are to parents that have children with different disabilities. So and then it's also your spouse's children, like it could be your stepchildren or you know, if they're either younger or older. Dependents 18 years or age or older who is not a spouse or common law partner. This is what I talked about, like sisters, nieces, parents, grandparents. You are also eligible for up to $73.48 against your income taxes. Okay, so these are things again, documents that you need to support. So there'll be different documents that they'll require that they may ask for. You don't need to submit them with your income tax. You just need to keep them in case CRA asks for, does an audit or asks for it at a different time. Some of the documents that they may ask for would be bank statements, canceled checks showing where they live, proof of deduction or credits that you've claimed. Those are just things you have to keep for 6 years of when you can be reviewed for your taxes. There is something called the Canada Workers Benefit, and this is for families in general. It doesn't have to be disability, but generally who have a low income, and there's an additional amount for a disability supplement. So if you are happen to have a low income situation, this could be something additional that you would be able to get. If we look at eligibility, you have to be working and earning an income. So you might still be working part-time or have your income cut because you are no longer working, or you know, there's different scenarios. Sorry. You have to be over 19 on a certain time frame, and a resident of Canada. So and it could be for a spouse also. It's not just for you. So these are all things that you have to look at and see if you qualify based on those. The disability supplement is based on that form I was talking about for the disability tax credit. So you have to have that to get this disability supplement if you're on if you're low income. Okay, so it doesn't say here what the here, hold on, let me just pull this up. So the range is the amount if your net income is between 22,944 and 32,244, you're getting 1,395 tax credit, and for that's for an individual. Families, it's 2,403. If you're up to between 26,177 and 42,197, the maximum amount based on single individuals is 720, and 720 for families, based on if you have a little bit of a higher income, between 32 and 37 if you're single, and between 46,997 and 51,797 if you're family. So there's varying amounts, and that's also just based on your income levels to give you an idea. So, that was mixed up. So we already went over the caregiver tax credit and what you would be claiming and doing that. So sorry, that was in the wrong order. Okay, so there's a bunch of other tax credits that I have listed here, and there's actually a few more too. There's the Trillium Drug Program, which is based on income. Also, if you need supplemental coverage for drugs because you don't have additional health benefits, that's something you can apply for. There's the Ontario Disability Support Program for dental care, same thing, based on income. The Drug Benefit Program, which is for prescription drugs based on income. That one, sorry. So and if you're seniors, sorry, this one is for seniors, so it depends on your age, obviously. Some of you may be seniors, some of you may not be. It is income dependent. There is the Ontario Disability Support Program, which is ODSP. So some of you will be eligible for ODSP depending on your age if you're younger. Some of you might be on CPP disability depending on if you're over the age of 60. They cross it over at a certain point. It seems to be decided by on a one-on-one case. And the amounts are $11.69 for basic needs and shelter, and you could get up to $12.28 depending on your situation. That's for a person who's not working. You could be working and making a very small amount and still, you know, if you're making, I think, under $400 a month, you can still get ODSP, or they would like prorate the benefit that you would be getting. There is an assisted device program, which is for people who need, you know, who need devices to help with the long-term physical disabilities and pay for customized equipment like wheelchairs and hearing aids. You have to qualify based on being an Ontario resident, having an Ontario health card, and needing the equipment for more than 6 months. There is no income consideration for this. So hearing aids, visual aids, different types of respiratory equipment, home oxygen therapy. There's lots of different things here that can be looked at. So that's something that you can also apply for and use in your taxes. Home vehicle and modification program. So this is really important. It is done through the March of Dimes, and it is based on income. So you can be looking at, you know, making changes in your home for lifts up the stairs, your bathroom to be, you know, retrofitted to be just able to wheel in and out with no, you know, no barrier. Also, sometimes, you know, kitchen so that you can have things lower to the ground and accessible from a wheelchair. It's a $15,000 lifetime maximum for home modifications and $15,000 every 10 years for a vehicle. So I did this process. My mother-in-law actually had a stroke and needed and was wheelchair bound for the last 7 years of her life. So we actually went through the process of getting this done through a vehicle. So there is specific vehicles and places you have to go. You have to provide the vehicle. Sometimes it's less expensive to find a used vehicle, but then you don't get this because it's already done. These are all things to consider and look at and apply for. This is not a tax thing. This is just a grant thing. So it's very important to look at. Assistance for children, we won't look at that one because obviously most of you are not looking. This is for adults. Tax credits, when this is just a general kind of spot that, that has a few different places for disability deduction and credits and where they are. I'll be able to provide those. So there's disability amount for self, home accessibility expenses, Canada Caregiver amount, which we talked about, disability support deduction, which we talked about, amounts transferred from a spouse. There are just so many different deductions that you can apply for, and these will help. You can filter them out based on what you need. The main ones that come up here are the disability support, the caregiver amount, which we talked about, the home accessibility expenses, the disability tax credit, the disability amount transferred from a dependent. These are all non-refundable tax credits. So they just go against your income, and they can be very beneficial just to help. Unfortunately, most of the stuff is you have to pay ahead and you're getting it back once you do your taxes, but it's still useful at that point. So these are all things that a tax professional will definitely be able to help you go through. That's the kind of, you know, crux of opening up the conversation for you, because you might have very specific questions that you need to ask. I'm also just going to put the front page up here. So if anybody wants to take down my contact information, they can, sorry. And we are definitely open for questions if anybody has something they'd like to ask.
We do have one question here. Yep, so I want to confirm a living will is different from a personal care document from the lawyer.
I think they're similar. It's just called a living will, but basically they're determining, you know, what kind of care you would like. They're both done through a lawyer. I think it's the same thing. They just call them, just like even the powers of attorney can be called different things. Like some places will call them a general power of attorney, some will be called a non-continuing. It's the same thing. One could be an enduring or continuing power of attorney. They are the same thing. They just have like different, people just call them different things.
Shannon, any other questions? I think that was the only one right now. So
we have a quiet bunch today. I just wanted to ask, Shannon, you were talking about the CPP disability and ODSP. So
Yes.
It's not an automatic rollover for someone under the age of 60, right? So I've just met a lot of clients that who are automatically put on CPP disability and not ODSP. Can you speak to that? Like, is it up to the case manager or is it
it's like
okay.
individual. I don't think they have like, I mean, I think more and more after the age of 60, they just make you take CPP early. And then there's the disability benefit that goes with CPP disability. But because it's not, yeah, it's similar to the amount you would get anyways, just on ODSP. You might even get more on CPP. It's a very similar amounts, to be honest. Once you're 65, obviously, you would then also get the old age security portion, which is another 600 or so a month currently. But it's just depends on the switchover. I think more often than not at 60, they put you on CPP disability.
Thank you. And then I just had another question too that a client had asked me about the caregiver benefit. Now, can two people apply at different times for the same person? So can like a son apply for the caregiver benefit for one portion of the disease, and then if that person chooses to go back to work, can the like another family member apply?
The time frame is within in the calendar year. You have to be taking care of them for a certain amount of time within the year.
Okay.
And I can't remember exactly what it is. Let me see if I can pull it up actually. I think it's more than 6 months, but let me see if I can pull it up here and find the actual time frame. Not in here. I do believe let me just do a quick search here. But it has to be within the calendar year. So they have to, each person, they can do, yes, the answer is yes, sorry.
Okay.
Different people can use it, but only one per year, like calendar year. And they still have to fall within. So like, I think if someone moves in with you or you start taking care of them in November, you don't qualify for that tax year. It has to be a certain time frame. Let me see. I'll see if I can find something, but I can get back to you on that too, so you can like disperse it to the families, or I can follow up with them. If everyone is okay with Melissa providing me with your email after the webinar, then that way I can reach out and you will all have my direct email that way for more questions, and I can take that away. I'm actually going to write it down. Just to confirm the time frame for the CCC. I'm okay too if you guys want to open the mic, if people have some questions they just want to, or they want to talk about something a little bit more. I don't think there's, you know, as long as people can take their turn, or maybe they can put up their hand if they want to chat and we can allow them to actually verbalize some questions.
So we do actually have quite a lot of questions that have just come in. So I don't know, maybe.
No, that's fine. I thought maybe people were being shy.
No. So sometimes if you don't scroll down, so I can ask you the next one. Are there any benefits are there any benefits that come in the form of income upfront as opposed to tax credits? No. Okay.
The only one, I think, the workers, the one that I was talking about, this one here, the workers one, you can get half in advance instead of waiting for tax time, but I don't think it's a huge amount anyways. But
okay,
that's the only one. Everything else is a tax benefit situation.
Okay. And then another one says, do you have to be unemployed to get the caregiver amount with the CRA?
No.
Okay,
no,
so this is from
the caregiver amount is not based on income. Some of the other ones are, but the caregiver amount is not based on income. Okay. It's based on the fact that they're living with you and you're caring for them.
Okay, so I'm gonna keep scrolling down. My dad has ALS. His wife is taking care of him. He was the sole earner. Is she eligible for any benefits? She didn't work, but now has no option to work. And this is from Giuliano.
Not really, no. I mean, she would be able to go on whatever the current welfare benefits would be. I don't know if there's a family amount earning for that, but no, unfortunately, these are some of the issues we run across when the main earner is no longer able to earn.
And now, just to spin off of this question, is there an age gap? Is there an age cap on OW, on welfare?
I think it would still go to 65, but I don't know if there's a time frame on it.
Someone says, thank you. This has been very informative. So that's very nice. Okay, another question we have. It says, hi, I'm 64 years old with ALS. We've made certain modifications to our home, i.e. stair lift and porch lift. I understand there's some type of credit for this if you're 65 and older. Which credit do I apply for? And what are my chances if I'm 6 months away from 65? And this is from Mark.
So it's always based on your age in the calendar year that you're claiming any of these benefits. So it doesn't matter if you're almost 65. It's based on when you spend the money, how old you are the year you're in. And like I said, a tax professional will tell you which one, because there are seniors ones and there are ones just for all, all Canadians and all Ontarians. So it really, whichever one applies to you based on your age and the year that you're claiming it is going to be determined by the tax professional. You can always look at the links and try and find which one would be best applicable, to you specifically. But if you're not 65 yet, it's probably not the seniors, but I'm not 100% sure on the cutoffs. There's so many little rules and they change every year that I always, put the caveat of really, I have information that you can start from, but tax professionals really understand the ins and outs of these. I actually prefer, for some of these cases, an accountant. I work with some accountants and different lawyers, specifically with people that have different levels of disability. My thing as an investment professional, an insurance professional, that I'm a little different at is that I can look at the whole picture, but I still need to pull in other professionals because I can't know all the tax laws. I can't know all the lawyers speak, and I can't do a will. I can't do powers of attorney. So we need to work together in those. The benefit of using people, I'm mobile, like I have an office in Mississauga, but I am on the road. Most of my clients, I have clients, I'm also licensed in Quebec because I'm originally from there. So I have clients from Quebec to London. So, and up to Barrie, close to Barrie anyways. So Innisfil. So at the end of the day, like I have a wide scope of where I go to my clients. I have dealt with clients that have ALS. I have gone through helping the families after the death of someone with ALS, and going through the estate. So there's a benefit of working with someone, not just me, lawyers who work with, you know, who do these specialties, accountants who have familiarization with these types of things. It's really important to find a good fit for your family, because at a certain point, it's much easier if someone can come to you than if you have to go somewhere else. So you know, but as far as looking at taxation, I can give you some hints. We've gone over a couple of things, but you really, to know which ones you qualify for specifically, you really have to talk to a professional in that realm.
Okay, thank you. So another question is, I came in late. I'm sorry if this was mentioned. How far back can you claim medical expenses? And it says also, can you go back in time to claim home renovations?
So as long as you have the disability tax credit done and it goes back to that time frame in those years, some are dependent on the disability tax credit, some are not. The max you can go back for anything is 10 years. Some are less, but the most is 10. And again, it depends on what you're going back for and if you have the disability tax credit that goes back as far as that.
Okay, thank you. This message is from James. It says, if you employ a personal care worker in your home, is there a tax deduction for this?
For a personal care worker, there might be something. I know it's not. I know there's not much for personal care workers, but there might be something there. I'd have to let me put a note and see if I can dig into that one for you and get back to you on that.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, they're coming now. They're not a quiet bunch.
I know there is respite. There is respite allowances. So your personal care worker would be covered through respite. It wouldn't be a tax benefit. It would be through the respite benefits that your spouse would apply for. So when they're not there, or it's a certain amount per year. I don't think it's very much. I think it's like $2,000 respite. Let me see if I can pull that one up quickly.
You, Shannon.
Yeah, no worries. And if not, I'll definitely follow up. So there you go, $3,800 a year. If there's $3,080 is the funding. Oh, sorry, never mind. That's, let me look in Ontario. That was BC. So respite care, I'll add that to my, actually going to add this portion to my presentation now that you've reminded me, because I was doing some changes today. So there's an application, so using at home care and community care support services. So I would look at the respite care program for that and see, so there's personal support, homemaking and professional care, nursing, physio, house cleaning, meal preparation, bathing. So some of those would be covered. I'm not seeing an amount here, so I'm not seeing what the amount is, but that's something definitely that that you can look at. There's a phone number right here, guys. So 310-2222. So that's something you can call to look into respite care help.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so the next one question is, it says, I am 56. Can I collect the CPP prior to 60?
No. CPP disability cannot be taken, I don't think, unless something has changed. CPP disability age, let's see. No, 60. Your card must be CPP. You could be 18 actually. If you're over 60, you can't be already receiving CPP. I think it's something you'd have to call the CRA, or not CRA, CPP for, to see at what point they would let you qualify. But I don't think they would do too much like at a very young age, but 56 isn't that far off, so that's something you'd have to ask or look into specifically for you. And I think it would depend on if you're receiving other benefits too. If you're, it would depend on if you're receiving other government benefits, and they don't, because you can't double dip, you can't get both, right? So you can't get ODSP and CPP, for example. Just so you guys know, I'm not sure if you're aware of that. It's one or the other.
Okay, our next message comes from Carmen, who claims the caregiver benefit. My husband claimed last year and was denied, but I'm not sure why. He is my sole caregiver and his income is a pension since he was 65.
I'm not sure why he would have been denied. Did you do the, did you do your taxes yourself, or did a professional do them? They would have had an explanation of some sort. You could have called to find out specifically if there was some information missing or what that was based on, because retirement income is still income. It doesn't specify that you can't use tax credits for retirement income. So that one I'm not sure why you got declined, to be honest.
So perhaps, Carmen, at the end of this presentation, you will have an opportunity to see Shannon's contact information. So perhaps maybe you two can connect after and you can dive a little bit deeper into this. So the next one is from Linda. Mom has ALS. Is there any way to claim costs for a retirement home and additional nursing services?
That, like all the other things, there are certain tax benefits. When you go to a long-term care facility, there's different costs and different levels based on income and assets. So that's something you'd have to look at if they're looking at government long-term healthcare places. Private ones, I don't think there's much funding for that. There would be a little small amounts for like food based on income and stuff like that, but the government long-term care facilities, there is like some sort of prorated amount. And then there's also an amount if you have two homes. So if you own, like if your spouse is in one home and you are in a long-term care facility, there's also an amount for that. And I'm not sure if it's a tax credit, or there used to be anyways. I'm not sure if it's a tax credit because you have to sustain two places to live. That's something to look at.
Okay, thank you. Should RRSPs be transferred to a non-ALS spouse and other investments?
So RRSPs can't be transferred until after someone has passed away. then they can be transferred to a spouse. You can't do it beforehand without paying taxes on it. Other investments, it depends on if they're registered or not. You can't really register events like a tax-free savings. If you've maxed out the amounts, then you can't put them in the other person's name. If there's room for the other person, then you can. I mean, to me, whatever you can get done ahead of time is better to do than waiting till after. You avoid, registered stuff doesn't have probate on it, but you just avoid waiting and having access to that money until the estates are settled sometimes, and it can be complicated. The more that's done ahead of time, the easier it is after. You just have to be willing to have that happen, right? I think it's a case-by-case basis. There's no general yes or no. It depends on the assets, on the taxation on the assets that you're clearing out. That has to be looked at.
Okay, thank you. Very lovely from Giuliano said, you ladies are killing it. Thank you so much for all this useful information. So thank you, that's so nice. Okay, so we have another question from Jackie. Is there any kind of credit for persons living in remote areas?
Not that I know of. There's additional credits, I think, for some people that are living on reserves who have Indigenous status. So other than that, though, remote areas, they might have normal tax credits, but nothing related specifically to disability that I know of.
Okay, and then this is just a follow-up from when we were talking about CPP. So Angie has indicated that her husband is 52 and does receive CPP disability.
Okay,
so
good.
There's possibly our answer that it doesn't have to be, you don't have to. Okay. So it looks like we have come to the end of our questions. Thank you everyone for chiming in and asking questions. If nobody has any other questions, then I think what we will do at this point is we will wrap up, and then Shannon has her information on the screen. We're also recording this webinar, and we'll send out the link to anybody who would like it and all the attendees. So you can go back through the slides for those links if you wish so. And then at that point, you will have Shannon's information. And I'm sure Shannon wouldn't mind connecting with people if they need any more questions. Oh, it looks like we might have a couple more questions that have come in. Okay. Are we okay, Shannon?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. I had you guys blocked off for a few hours, so it's all
okay. Good. So it said Shannon made reference to long-term care. Mom is currently moving from one retirement to another retirement home that offered additional care. Is there any government assistance for this current time?
Sorry, repeat that?
So you made reference to long-term care. So her mom is moving from one retirement home to another that offered additional care. Is there any government assistance? I'm thinking she's asking for the addition, like for either the move or the additional care. I'm not sure if Linda wants to specify.
The additional care is in the cost of the home that you're in, right? So it's not separated. It's just based on the fact that where you're living is, I'm assuming the cost is more. If it's private, I'm not sure there's too much on that.
Okay. And then another question from David is, if an ALS patient applies for the DTC, can their spouse also claim the CCC?
Yeah, yeah. So the disability tax credit is just given to people who have, a disability or an impairment of some sort, whether it be mental or physical. It can be used by a spouse. And the other tax credits, some rely on you having it first and some do not. But they're not exclusive. It's not just you can have one and not the other. Some cases, but like only one person can claim them. You can't, again, double dip on stuff like that. But your tax person should be able to tell you where it's most beneficial and who to apply it to, who would be most beneficial to apply it to based on your income. If you're still working in early stages and you have a higher income, even with being the person diagnosed with ALS, it's still sometimes more beneficial to use the benefit or the income tax deduction on yourself until your income is lower.
This another question says, is the Ministry of Attorney General power of attorney kit obsolete?
The ministry, because I don't do the power of attorney, lawyers do. I know that you can technically do like a holographic will. They're more contestable. Powers of attorney, I think, have to be registered through the courts, and wills in certain provinces have to be registered in the courts also. Like in Quebec, they have to be registered. In Ontario, they don't, but the powers of attorney, I believe, do. It's a very specific document, and it's definitely the kit. I'm not sure if that's like a manual kit that you would do yourself. Powers of attorney themselves are not expensive. They're like $100. Well, it depends. Usually, if you get your wills and power of attorney done in one shot, you get like your powers of attorney are maybe $100 each, and your will might be $500 to $1,000, depending on how complicated it is. If you do a husband and wife, or a spouse, a partnership, whatever it may be, usually because you're doing 2 sets, they'll also give you, a little bit of a discount. It just depends, but you should be expecting to spend around at least $1,000 for the set of each will and power of attorney. If you're in Toronto, it might be more, just because their hourly wages are higher, but usually it's a set price for a will. It's not an hourly price.
So Emma is just kind of chiming in, and she said her experience with POAs is that no institution will look at it unless a lawyer has stamped it. And then if you are going into a bank, it absolutely needs to be certified by a lawyer, and most places require the original copy.
Yeah. The only time, so for example, with me, I have some powers of attorney on file for some of my clients, because the children are helping with their finances. So we keep we keep a copy of it on file in their thing, but we don't need the original every single time because it's on file. Some places are more particular than others. It's the same thing when you're trying to do an estate. Some provinces will take the funeral home death certificate. In Quebec, you actually need the government death certificate to do anything. So again, it's just every place is a little bit different, and every different type of institution has their own rules.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. So that looks like right now my question board is empty. So we'll give it like a few more minutes, but I just wanted to thank you so much, Shannon. This was extremely useful and extremely helpful. Just given the flow of questions we have, people obviously are very engaged.
Yeah,
so
there's always lots of questions. I'm really happy to help. As I said, I've been working with ALS groups for I think 7 or 8 years. Some of you might be working with Lori Laxer, who's I think more like Halton based, or Peel based, I should say, maybe Peel and Halton. And I've done this presentation to different groups also in person. So, I'm definitely happy to be here and try and direct some focus. I would say definitely some of the most important steps are wills and power of attorney first, and then also the disability tax credit, because you have to have forms and then get approved from the government. It can take some time. So those are just kind of steps to start on the financial side. And the more you have wrapped up, like there's different types of people everywhere, right? Some people just don't want to deal with thinking about what's going to happen as they're dying and after, and some people want to take care of everything now. All I'm going to say is, knowing from personal experience, it's much easier on your family and loved ones if you get everything organized for them. They have less decisions to make when they are emotionally distraught. And so I would just really encourage people to take the hard steps of getting those things done.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, it looks like nobody else has questions, so we will wrap up exactly at 2:02 p.m. Again, thank you so much. And for everyone else who has joined us, you will have the recording made available very soon. Shannon's information is on the slide, so you will be able to have a way to contact her and all the links. So Shannon, thank you so much for taking time out today to be with us. And yeah, that's it. Thank you, everybody.
Everybody, enjoy your afternoon, and I hope you have a wonderful week.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.